Hello, students. This is the video session, and in the present video session, I focus on the plot. Hello, students. This is Dr. Srinivasappa G, Department of English, Government First Grade College, Sira, affiliated to Tumakuru University, Karnataka. In the video session, I mainly focus on the plot of the play, The Way of the World. The Way of the World is a play of comedy of manners written by William Congreve. In the previous session, we have got an introduction of the characters of the play. We got acquainted with the major and minor characters and their interrelations and interdependency that we have seen in the previous session. And now let us see the plot. Plot is most important for the play. Without plot, the characters cannot play. It is the primary element of a play or a tragedy according to Aristotle. So he called it as a plot is the soul of the tragedy. And now this is a session wherein we get into the plot of Way of the World. In any play, the plot is not simple. The plot is complicated. Unless there will be complications, struggles, the play cannot be interesting, and the development of the play, acts, and the plots and scenes cannot be interwoven, and we never expect a kind of organic unity with this without this problem. Therefore, there could be a problem in the plot, the complications in the plot, particularly the play, the love play. The love is the subject of the play or the plot, and there should be a complications. Right, in the present session, your topic of the session or the class is the problem of the plot. The problem of the plot. Right, the play, Way of the World, it has a striking characterization and brilliant dialogue. The play could become successful because of the dialogue that were brilliantly written by and composed by the writer and delivered by the characters. Therefore, the play, The Way of the World, could become so popular and significant even today also. Because of its striking characterization and brilliant dialogue, The Way of the World is generally considered to be the finest example of restoration comedy, as well as one of the last during that period. It means it is the first and last the play which is having a brilliant dialogue and catalysis. Right. Nevertheless, it was not successful when it was first presented in 1700. Later, the play could become so successful and tested. Although the English audience, unlike French, were accustomed to plot and subplots and to a great deal of action in the play. The very topic of the play, session is to the problems of the plot. What problems the plot has? Though it is brilliantly characterized and brilliant dialogue, still there are some problems and complications. First, the problem that we are finding here is noted here is audience of the day. Unlike the French, they were very much influenced by the French. I told you in the previous one of our previous classes that influence of French on Restoration theatre. And as they were influenced the most by French tradition of theatre, they were accustomed to plots and subplots and a great deal of actions. In the plot should have the main plot and subplot, the major characters and minor characters. Minor characters they belong to subplot, and the major character belong to main plot. Both are interwoven, and the plot develops. The plot has beginning, middle, and the end. Every plot has this. Plot decides the length and strength of the play always. So the audience of the period, they were expecting. Still, there is their mind that the plot they're expecting plots, subplots, and actions or action oriented plays they were expecting still. That was one of the problem of the plot or the time. They were confused by the amount of activity crammed into the single day. See that the whole play, that is as Aristotle put it in his Poetics, that too in the tragedy of definition of tragedy. There we see that. That is he told three unities: unity of time, place, and action. Here in a day, that is the unity of time. There was a problem of unity of time. That is the second problem. And single action is the way of the world. One is the audience were expecting the French tradition of the play, plot, subplot, and action. And second is unity of time. Third is a single action. Let us say the single action is in the play. The word had only a single action to which everything was related, but it included a scheme and a counterplot to frustrate the scheme and then moves to foil the counterplot. Yes, we plot and counterplot, they were interwoven, and schemes were made, plots were made, the plans were made, scandals were made in the play. There were too many episodes, events, reversals, discoveries, most of them huddled in the last acts. When there were two more complications of episodes and events, reversals of actions, and discoveries, many, and there shall be a kind of confusion, and all could be cleared at the end of the play. Otherwise, the play is not end as the audience expected, and they could not get a kind of a particular kind of story, or the plot cannot be well organized. They feel it, and they demanded too much of audience. See that it was the demand of the audience of the day. But the audience were confused to having more episodes, events, reversals, and discoveries, and complications and intrigues. If the difficulty was ever overcome in a performance, it was only when actors and directors were completely conscious of their problem. See that the characters, it is the actors of the play in the presentation, they should know seriously all the complications and the problems of the play. And directors of the plot or the play also would have the knowledge of this. Then only it can be successful. Otherwise, there shall be a failure of this. This is one of the problems that we're finding. And the tradition of opening scene in the restoration play. And what tradition the restoration play in the opening scene. In the opening scenes of Shakespearean tragedy was entirely different, and the play itself was the most important and significant, because the opening scene is the prediction of the whole play. It predicts, it foretells what will happen, and it is having the gist of the whole entire play. It is a bird view of the whole play in this Shakespearean tragedies. We see that. Let us see what tradition in the restoration comedy, particularly the way of the world, having with the opening scene. Every play must start. That is big opening scene. In the traditional praise, it was a custom of the day of the restoration theatre that there was a common praise like a prayer. That is, in medias res. In medias res is a praise which made more sounds during the time. With this praise, every play of the day should begin in medias res. That is, some events must have occurred before opening the curtain. In medias res implies some events must occurred before the opening curtain. Before the curtain rises, some events could be happened already. Those events could be related and correlated to the opening scene and the rest of the arcs and scenes that are going to develop throughout the play. This was the custom of the play, the day. The device is called exposition, used to inform the audience or the reader of these events could be as obvious as the character addressing the audience directly, or could be an important part of the action, as Sophocles' Oedipus Rex, or in Ibsen's plays, or in Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night. There were references from the Greek plays and American playwright. We see that Eugene and Ibsen, the important, the modern, the problem plays writer. And there at the outset, there were some events were happened and that could be carried out. With the action, it was done before the curtain rises. With that impact, the play begins. That was the technique and traditions of the day. With that, the play begins. The praise, I repeat once again, in medias res. In restoration drama, exposition was usually straightforward. Straight away, they play. Two characters might meet and gossip, or a man might talk to servant. Usually, the play doesn't begin with a single character. It begins with the two characters they could meet, and the play begins particularly in the that is comedy of manners. The gossip, it was important. That is the element of the satire, and where with the gossip of the two characters, the play begins usually. Or a man might talk to a servant, but in the way of the world, the exposition is highly uh, ingenious and long withheld. It is quite different from that. Let us see what different is in the next that is essence. In art, first we are told that in the opening scene we see that we are told that Mirabal, I told you who is Mirabal, what relations he has. I told you in the last session. Mirabal is in love and that there are obstacles to the courtship. But the most significant facts are hidden until Act Second. See that. Mm, Between the first and the second act, no facts are disclosed. They were hidden for surprise regarding his love and his obstacles with the courtships. Those were hidden till second act. It is a kind of creating a curiosity mind of the audience. That may be the technique. So that the first part of the play is obscure. There will be eagerness in the mind of the audience. They were expecting the things that are the fact that are happening. Yes. Then just Mirabel's scheme becomes clear. The very first scene he made a scheme. It loses significance. For finals, counterpart becomes the missionary that moves the action forward. See that the plot and the counterpart, plot made by Mirabel and the counterpart made by final. Plot it doesn't get significance, but later the finance counterpart it becomes so significant and it leads to action, further action. It is therefore worthwhile to trace the story chronological order. One plot and it is and the next plot is counterplot by the two important characters. And sometimes in the play, another problem is that loose ends of the plot. There's more complications, more obstacles, more episodes, more controversies, more plots, more groups. Usually there will be loose ends. Let us see the loose end of the plot of the play, that is the way of the world. Although there seems to be the usual happy ending to the comedy. Comedy is a play, it ends with happily. And it is a play not so serious. It gives some recreation and humor that we are usually expecting. As the tragedy is expecting, it ends with the suffering and death and bloodshed and cries and so. Although there seems to be usual happy ending to this comedy, the way of the world leaves a number of loose ends that add to the confusion. There was a loose end that create a kind of confusion at the end of the play. That is the plot construction we find in the watch the play or read the play. It is difficult to see where Mrs. Final's future is satisfactory result. Some of the problems that were created in the plot or in the play, they were not being solved. They were not satisfactorily find the end at the end of the play. At one point in Act 5, she says that this is the end of her life with Final. That is one comfort. Uh, Therefore, the dialogue is most important in the play of the Congreve because every word and every expression of the character is most important because here is a very last that is a speech of the play. We see the character that is at one point in Act 5, she, that is the Mrs. Final, says, this is the end of her life. This is how she is going to complete her action and get aside. That is one comfort we get it for fun complications, for one relations. But at the end of the play, it seems that she will continue to live in Final in an obviously very awkward domestic situation. Actually, she told one thing. She told one thing in beginning of the act first, and end of the act 5, we see that she was obviously leading a awkward domestic life with the Final. This is a quite complications. That is the rules. No, no seriousness. It is not clear that Final is completely foiled. He could still demand control of Lady Wishford Fortune and disgrace her daughter. Mirabel's statement that his circumstances are such, he, that is Final, must force complete is hardly adequate. Uh, Next important the point I would like to quote in the problems of the plot is that some problems of motivation in the play are not clear. Uh, some problems of motivation in the play are not clear. Why didn't Mirabel himself marry Mrs. Final when she was a widow? That shall be a question uh, arising in the mind of the audience. Why didn't Mirabel himself marry Mrs. Final when she was a widow? Mirabel is not wealthy, and Mrs. Final apparently inherited a considerable fortune from her first husband. That is Final. Is the affair between Mirabel and Mrs. Final at an end? That shall be one more the question. She married Final only to forestall scandal if she become pregnant. See that the point. She married Final only to forestall a scandal if she became pregnant. If it is at an end, why has it ceased? Why should she help Mirabel with his wooing gambler? Having all this in her mind, as is director indirectly supporting Mirabel to love Melamine. These things are quite complicated, the relationship. Has he perhaps convinced Mrs. Final that he is marrying Melamine for money? That might be happened. Uh, when we have been observing the problems of the plot, there will be more complication in the plot. Apparently, Mirabel had wanted to marry Millamant the year before, but the match was forestalled by Mrs. Marwood interference. That is one complication. Final suggests that had they married, Millamant would have lost half her fortune. Why then the elaborate plot now to save the 6,000 pounds that Mirabel was prepared to sacrifice before? There were no real answers to these questions. They seem to be loose ends that the dramatist never bothered to tie together. These are the series of questions that are in the mind of the audience when they watch the play. This is how there are some complications and the problems, loosed plots that we have noted. And those things can we see in the play that is We Have the World. Now I am going to end this session by giving you the problems of the plot that We Have the World. What are the common or usual problems that the play had? Even though the play could be successful by the brilliant dialogues of the that is written by that is William Congreve. That we could see that when we study the summary or the act-wise summary or the play when we read in detail, scene-wise, we can understand what is going to happen, and you can get into the play and the plot characters later, and this will help you to get into the play. One should know, as I told you, the plot and the characters. If you have the plot and the characters, the background of plot and the background of the character, then you can easily understand the whole play. That is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the plot, and the story interrelated, and the problem that has taken for the play. These things quite become easy for you to having the knowledge of the plot and the characters. Thank you for listening this session. Meet in the next session. Thank you very much.